Hi, you're watching Energy Works Career Connections. I'm Rachel Gregory. Today I'm speaking with Dale Swampy, President and CEO of the National Coalition of Chiefs. Dale, thank you for being part of our series.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Dale, what can you tell us about the National Coalition of Chiefs, specifically your mandate on defeating on-reserve poverty?
We started in 2017 with a mandate originally to spread the message across Canada to government, industry, and First Nations that the regional coalition model was the model to use to get projects approved and get certainty in development, maximize benefits for First Nations, as well as get social acceptance for the proponents and satisfy the government's requirement for adequate consultation. It was in 2018 when we added an additional mandate to defeat on-reserve poverty. We have seen across this country some 70% of people that live on the reserve are on social welfare, and we need to be able to get them employed. And they are essentially the unemployable individuals, 20, 30, 40 years old, that never had a full-time job in their life, minimum education with no skills. We believe that in order to focus on that, we need to be able to get private industry as well as First Nations behind what we call a social welfare employment program. And we believe that the social ills that are created within our communities, the root to that cause is poverty.
What are some of the steps the National Coalition of Chiefs are taking in regards to this mandate, as well as your top 5 initiatives?
We're focused on 5 different initiatives. The first, of course, is to advocate for the natural resource industry. And our second initiative is to support major projects and support those major projects who are conforming to what we believe is the coalition model. We also have developed what we call the National First Nations Electricians Apprenticeship Program. And it was really a part of the initiative we had to create a clean energy summit because the chiefs knew that there was a big drive for renewable projects, especially in Alberta. We looked at it and asked ourselves what's the most important feature in terms of labor for these types of projects, and it's related to electrical technicians, electrical engineers, linemen, transmission expertise. We're starting with the oil sands groups. We're hoping to get 30 corporate partnerships to recruit First Nation individuals from across the country. In 2018, we saw the problems on reserve, so we developed what we call a National First Nations Social Welfare Employment Program. And this is a program that we're working in partnerships with First Nations communities and industries to bring production facilities on reserves that'll train and employ band members who are specifically undereducated, underskilled, don't have the history of employment that most employers would like to see. And we're pursuing the development on reserve production facilities like greenhouses, modular homes factories, and meat packing plants.
Can we be doing more for First Nations and Indigenous individuals who are on social welfare to let them know what opportunities exist or get them interested in a career in energy?
We need Canadians and industry and government to back us on this initiative. And I think the only way that we can get this going is if Canadians actually support it. We always urge the government and the provinces to be able to change their curriculum to include First Nations history. A lot of people think it's unachievable. People just don't want to work, and it's wrong to think that. All you have to do is look at Fort McKay. Fort McKay has one of the richest communities in Canada. Their median household income is around $150,000 a year. They have 0 unemployment. Everybody in the community works. You got young people not leaving the reserve because they know they can't get a salary as big as they can if they stay on the reserve and work in the oil sands. The most important part of that community is the fact that it didn't happen overnight. It took them 50 years. And that 50 years of transition was created because the Suncors of the day worked to give them extra consideration. That meant that if somebody didn't work out in the 1970s and then wanted to come back, they didn't have a closed door policy for people who failed in the past. They embraced them and welcomed them back and tried to help the community to be able to get into the working environment. Biggest moves they had was to guarantee the reserve that if you graduated from grade 12, you would automatically get a job in the oil sands. So it can be done.
Speaking of projects, well, projects can't get built without people. So what are some of the exciting developments that you see coming up, perhaps in sustainable energy?
Well, we're excited about the fact that the communities across this country, First Nation communities, are seeing the value in creating coalitions. You've seen that with the TMX project and communities getting together wanting to buy it. You've seen it with LNG Canada and the LNG First Nation Alliance. And it's the National Coalition of Chiefs and their leadership that have decided that They believe that CCUS should be owned and operated by First Nations. Who better to operate a carbon capture system than the stewards of the land to ensure that we're there from start to finish, and we're there to be able to remediate and pick up the pieces. Who better to take on the risk for environmental protection than the communities that are going to be there forever?
Thank you so much, Dale, for taking the time to speak with me today and being part of our Energy Works Career Connections series.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.